Hello, children. Uh, Hi, Abu Salim. I receive your messages, and I know you have been requesting for your video on prepositions. Don't worry, you will get it in a day or two, maybe today itself. Uh, so, this class which I have kept today is regarding the revision of poetry. Okay, it is about revision of poetry, and as you know, you have 5 poems in your syllabus. So I am going to talk about all those 5 poems, and also I am also going to tell you which are the important poems that you need to focus more. See, this time we can't say what is important in that way. Like, you will be getting MCQs. Okay, so when you have MCQs, so most of the syllabus is covered in that. So in that way, you need to have thorough understanding of all poems. Uh, there are some other people joining. We can wait for 2 more minutes for them to join. चलिए, तो बेटा सबसे पहले मैं आपसे दो चीजों के बारे में बात करना चाहती हूँ. द फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट थिंग इज हाउ टू प्रिपेयर अ पोम फॉर एग्जाम. आपने पोएट्री पढ़ी होगी, आपको उसके मीनिंग एक्सप्लेनेशन तो ऑफ कोर्स आने ही चाहिए. देर इज नो सब्सटीट्यूट टू बी थॉरो विद द टेक्स्ट. टेक्स्ट से थॉरो होना आपके लिए बहुत जरूरी है, बिकॉज यू विल बी हैविंग एमसीक्यूज ऑल्सो, and then you see you will be getting the questions in the form of reference to context, where you will have 3 marks questions as well as a 4 mark question. So whenever it is a 3 marks question, always believe it has 3 points. Okay, so ma'am, joining sentences. All right, okay. For prepositions and joining sentences, I'll definitely post a video on their revision when I'll be doing last year's papers, right? मैम प्लीज मेक अ वीडियो ऑन हाउ टू राइट अ गुड आंसर्स इन इंग्लिश. बेटा मैं उसी के बारे में बात कर रही हूँ. आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू हाउ यू आर सपोज टू राइट गुड आंसर्स. सी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, एज आई वॉज जस्ट टेलिंग यू हैव टू बी थॉरो विद द टेक्स्ट. देर इज नो सब्सटीट्यूट टू बी थॉरो विद द टेक्स्ट. समरी पढ़ के या कोई एनिमेशन वीडियोस देख के आपको कभी अच्छे मार्क्स नहीं आएंगे. आप प्लीज मेरी बात पे गौर कीजिएगा. You need to be very thorough with the text. When we say thorough with the text, it means जो भी poem या story and even the Merchant of Venice, the play that is there in your syllabus, you need to read it line by line. You must know the meaning of each and every word. आपको अच्छे से वो आना चाहिए, क्योंकि बेटा MCQs में you never know from where you are asked a question. Similarly, these questions which are asked in reference to context also, they are going to be 3 marks question, 4 marks question. Please understand, whenever it is a 3 mark question, it means 3 points have to be given. Okay, there are 3 key points that are supposed to be written in those answers. And if it is a 4 marks question, 4 points are to be given. ठीक है, तो जब भी हमारा 3 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन आता है, समटाइम्स यू गेट an answer, you have to give an answer which is there in 2 points only. So please understand, if you write both the points, you will be getting all 3 marks. If you write 1 point, you will be getting 1 mark. Okay, so always make sure that you are thorough with the text. जैसे मैंने डैफोडिल्स पर अभी रिसेंटली एक वीडियो पोस्ट किया था, जिसमें मैंने टेक्स्ट को पूरा एक्सप्लेन किया हुआ है विद ऑल मीनिंग्स एंड नोट्स. इफ यू वांट सच वीडियोस, अबू इज राइटिंग, मैम क्वेश्चन आंसर पेट्रियोट के कहाँ से पढ़ूं. क्वेश्चन आंसर्स के लिए बेटा हम थोड़ा लास्ट ईयर के पेपर्स भी देखेंगे. बाकी आपके पास वर्कबुक होगा, तो वर्कबुक, इन द वर्कबुक यू गेट ऑल वेराइटी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, राइट. उसमें सारे क्वेश्चंस आपके, डिफरेंट वेराइटी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आर देयर. आप उनको पढ़ के देखिए कि इसमें क्या आंसर होगा. ट्रीट देम लाइक 3 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन एंड ट्राई टू फिगर आउट विच 3 पॉइंट्स शुड बी देयर इन दिस क्वेश्चन. ओके, so references are given, so you can follow any workbook. Yeah, of course I would prefer Morning Star workbooks, they are good. So you can follow any workbook for question answers, right? ओके, सो एज वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट पोएट्री टुडे, आज का ये सेशन मैंने एक्सक्लूसिवली पोएट्री के लिए रखा है. तो जब हम पोएट्री की बात करते हैं बेटा, तो हमेशा याद रखिए, आप कह सकते हैं कि आपकी ये पोम कंप्लीट हो गई है या प्रिपेयर हो गई है एग्जाम के लिए, जब आपको उसके फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल पोएट के बारे में पता हो. सो यू मस्ट नो द नेम्स ऑफ द पोएट्स ऑफ ऑल 5 poems that you have in your syllabus. You must know the poets. Okay, you are given in brief about them in your textbook also. आपको poet के बारे में पढ़ना चाहिए. It is always good to have knowledge about the writer or the poet, but yes, at least name should be known to you, right? Second thing that you need to know, of course, as I told you, the complete text. You need to read the poem, you need to understand it properly, you must know the meaning, you must know the meaning and line of. It's not that you are supposed to learn it by heart. आपको वो कोई मग अप नहीं करना है पोम, लेकिन हाँ, आपको हर वर्ड का, हर लाइन का मीनिंग पता होना चाहिए कि वाई इज द पोएट सेइंग दिस, क्यों कह रहा है, क्या है इसके पीछे, राइट? तो जब आपने टेक्स्ट पढ़ लिया, उसके अलावा भी देर आर certain things which you must know about a poem, and when you know them, only then you can say that you actually know the poem. One is the form of poetry. See, there are different forms of poetry. There are ballads also, there are elegies also, there is dramatic monologue, there is so different kinds of poetry are there. So you must know which form of poetry you are reading. Okay, so I'll discuss that with you, don't worry. When I'm going to discuss about each and every poem one by one. So in that I'll be talking about all these important aspects, right? So one is the form of poetry, next is theme. It's not important and it's not necessary that there is only one theme in the poem. There can be more than one also. You must know about the themes. What is the what is the poem about? Okay, and then of course the message, what the poet wants to convey through that particular poem, that should also be mentioned, that should also be known to you. वो आपको पता होना चाहिए, आपको अच्छे से आना चाहिए. Okay, so these are the things that you must prepare to prepare a poem for examination point of view. Now I am going to talk to you one by one about these poems. See, as far as मैम आप important question answers करवा दीजिएगा. All right. So as far as these poems are concerned, let me टेल यू, एज आई हैव जस्ट टोल्ड यू कि मैंने डैफोडिल्स पे अभी रिसेंटली एक वीडियो पोस्ट किया है इन विच आई हैव एक्सप्लेन द टेक्स्ट. इफ यू वांट मोर वीडियोस लाइक दिस, लाइक ऑन अदर पोम्स आल्सो, या कोई पोम विच आपको डिफिकल्ट, विच यू फाइंड डिफिकल्ट, यू कैन ऑलवेज टेल मी अबाउट दैट. सो आई कैन पोस्ट अ वीडियो रिगार्डिंग दैट टू. If there is anything, you can tell me. Now let us talk about those aspects which you need to know about these 5 poems. All right, so important things that you must know about these 5 poems. First of all, let us talk about Daffodils, which is written by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth is a romantic poet. Romantic means who is in love with nature, who writes about the beauty of nature. So please understand, there are 2 themes, important themes that are there in Daffodils. One is influence of nature on human beings. The poem describes the healing and refreshing power of nature. It describes the healing and refreshing power of nature. Healing power means which can recover you from any kind of problem, ailment, or like the poet says that whenever he lies in his couch in a pensive mood, that sight of daffodils which he saw, it makes him happy, it makes him joyful. So that way, uh, the poet says that, that way it changes his mood. तो the poem talks about influence of nature on human beings. किस तरह से जो नेचर है, जो प्रकृति है, वो किस तरह से हमें प्रभावित करती है, हमारे मूड को, हाँ, हमारे इंटरेस्ट को. इट थिंग ऑफ ब्यूटी इज जॉय फॉर एवर. हम जब भी किसी सुंदर चीज को देखते हैं, नेचुरल चीज को देखते हैं, whether they are trees, whether they are clouds, whether they are mountains, whether they are hills, whether they are rivers, lakes, ponds, flowers, we always feel happy. Okay, so it has that healing power. Next is beauty of nature as an inspiration. It also talks about that. Why? Because it was after looking at that sight of those golden daffodils only which inspired William Wordsworth, and then he wrote Daffodils. So he wrote Daffodils after getting inspired by the beauty of dancing flowers spread all along the bay. So he was so happy, he got so inspired. So sometimes beauty of nature works as an inspiration also for a person, right? Now, the next poem that you have in your syllabus is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou, who herself was an African American. मैम आपने जो एक्ट 3 सीन 2 का पार्ट्स बनाया है वो 2 पार्ट सेम ही वीडियो है, एक पार्ट नहीं है आई गेस. नो बेटा, दे शुड नॉट बी. आई चेक इट वंस अगेन. अगर ऐसा है तो आई डोंट नो, आई हैव टू चेक इट. वैसे आई मेड इट इन 2 पार्ट्स बिकॉज द सीन वॉज वेरी लेंदी, यू नो, व्हेन बेसानियो मेक्स हिज चॉइस. ठीक है, आई चेक इट एंड इफ देर इज एनी मिस्टेक लाइक दिस आई करेक्ट इट, डोंट वरी. राइट? Okay, so let's continue with I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now, when you do this poem, beta, always remember, first of all, of course, हम इसके themes के बारे में बात करते हैं. First is freedom versus enslavement. Freedom, swatantrata, enslavement, gulami, slavery. Right? So, freedom is symbolized through the unrestricted movements of the free bird, and enslavement is symbolized by the caged bird whose wings are clipped and feet are tied. Now, this poem actually is the metaphorical representation. Okay, and caged bird here represents African Americans, and these African Americans were exploited. They were slaved by these white Americans, right? So their freedom was curbed. Okay, and they had to live a life of slavery. So this poem talks about that. Freedom versus enslavement is one of the important themes of this poem. Then racism and slavery. Please understand, racism and slavery. Racism is racial discrimination. कलर के बेसिस पर जब डिस्क्रिमिनेशन किया जाता है, जो कि अमेरिका में बहुत ज्यादा प्रोमिनेंट था. The poem articulates the poet's emotions against racial discrimination because जो poet Maya Angelou है, she herself was a black American, and because of that she had to face a lot of racial discrimination and slavery in America. The free bird represents the white race and their domination, whereas caged bird becomes a metaphor for African Americans and their confinement. Next is voice against oppression. Oppression मतलब होता है दबाना किसी को, किसी का को एक्सप्लॉइट करना, उसको दबाना. ओके, तो ये जो पोम है, इट इज ऑल्सो बेस्ड ऑन दिस थीम ऑफ वॉइस अगेंस्ट ऑपरेशन. आपने उसमें देखा होगा कि किस तरह से फ्री बर्ड की लाइफ और केज्ड बर्ड की लाइफ को डिफरेंशिएट किया गया है, उन दोनों की लाइफ किस तरह से अलग है वो एक्सप्लेन की गई है. और लास्ट में ये कहा गया है कि व्हेन केज्ड बर्ड हैड नथिंग एल्स टू डू, व्हेन इट हैड नो अदर चॉइस, इट स्टार्ट्स सिंगिंग. So what is that singing? Singing is like raising its voice against oppression. So the caged bird in the poem is in a state of physical pain and mental agony. Agony again means pain. However, he knew his strength and expressed his rebellion by singing. This struggle of the caged bird is parallel to the struggle of African Americans for freedom and equality. Right? So these three are the main themes of this poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now, there is another very important thing which you need to understand in this poem. और इसके बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए क्योंकि इसके बारे में क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. That is the autobiographical element in the poem. How is there an autobiographical element? The poetess Maya Angelou can be seen as a metaphorical caged bird. क्योंकि जो caged bird है वो अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है. तो जो अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन, माया एंजेलो हरसेल्फ वाज एन अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन. ओके, सो with reference to this poem, caged bird is in a way metaphorical representation of Maya Angelou herself. As an African American woman, she had to face racism, oppression, and physical assault at an early age. If we consider the title, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, the comparison of the bird and Angelo is quite clear. She knows and understands the caged bird's pain and suffering as she herself had experienced it. The caged bird opening his throat to sing can be interpreted as Angelo involving herself in the act of writing. तो यहाँ पर जो caged bird है वो अल्टीमेटली क्या डिसाइड करती है? व्हेन इट्स विंग्स आर क्लिप्ड, its feet are tied, it cannot go out, it is restricted to that pigeon, sorry, it is restricted to that prison, you can say, that cage. So what does it decide to do at last? It opens its throat to sing, right? So similarly, Maya Angelou also, she decided to write and to pour her heart out through her poetry, right? So this way Maya Angelou uh, can very well relate herself to that caged bird, all right? और इसीलिए ये इस poem में autobiographical element है, because in a way the poetess is talking about herself. Good evening, ma'am. What's the meaning of his voice is heard on distant hills? See, the voice was so loud. It sings in such a loud voice that it could be heard on distant hills because it wants its voice to be heard. That's why it sings in such a loud voice. See, physically, the bird is helpless. Physically, it is not possible for the bird to do anything, not to go out. It doesn't have any freedom. That is the last choice that the bird has. And that last choice is to sing. And singing here refers to raising its voice, okay, against that oppression, against that slavery. So it sings so loud because the bird wants its voice to be heard. All right, Jonathan, I think your query is solved. Yes, children, if you have any query, any question in your mind regarding the poems, you can always ask me, okay? All right. Now, let's talk about another poem, that is The Patriot by Robert Browning. See, children usually have a confusion about this poem and they always ask, ma'am, who is the patriot? Beta, that is ambiguous, that is not clear, and that has not been mentioned by the poem. Because what he wants to convey by the through this poem is entirely different. हमें इस बात से कोई मतलब नहीं है कि पैट्रियट कौन था, उसके साथ क्या हुआ, उसने ऐसा क्या डीड किया कि पब्लिक इतना अगेंस्ट हो गई उसके खिलाफ. We have nothing to do with that. Okay, what the poet wants to convey is something else. Please understand. Let us talk about these three important points about this poem. That is, first is the fickleness of the public. Fickleness of the public. So what is this fickleness of the public? When the mind of the public is not stable. हम एक चीज पर टिक कर नहीं रह सकते हैं, हमारा माइंड बदलता रहता है. दैट इज कॉल्ड फिकल माइंडेडनेस. So that fickleness of public is shown in this poem. The poem is a satire on the public's fickle attitude. Why is it a satire? In a way, the poet is making a kind of sarcasm on them. The poem portrays how love, respect, and honor given to someone is momentary and is subject to erratic changes. This can be observed with the help of contrasting images that the poet has used. I'll talk about imagery also, of course, that is an important thing. When I was telling how to prepare a poem, उसमें एक बहुत important element मुझसे छूट गया, and that is you must know the literary devices used in that poem. Figures of speech, imagery, these are important points, these are important things that you must know about each and every poem. तो इस पोएम में भी आप देखेंगे कि पोएट ने कंट्रास्ट इमेजरी का यूज किया है. वो कैसे किया है मैं आपसे आई विल डिस्कस इट फर्दर. और वो क्या दिखाने के लिए यूज किया है? दैट कंट्रास्ट इमेजरी हैज बीन यूज्ड टू शो द फिकलनेस ऑफ पब्लिक. Okay, the way in the beginning of the poem, just a year ago, they are throwing roses at him, and just after a year, they are throwing stones at him. Okay, so how their mind changes. Next is rise and fall of glory. This poem also shows that, ma'am, why the patriot wants son. Okay, I'll come to that. He wants son because he was so ambitious. The patriot was ambitious. He himself gives the example of Icarus also. So that is the why, because he was so ambitious. He was the one who was leaping at the sun, means he wanted to get the sun. So, but being ambitious is not a crime. Being ambitious is not a mistake. Okay. Uh, all right. So, next is rise and fall of glory. Rise and fall of glory means it depicts the theme of the sudden rise and fall of the glory of man. Within a span of year, the poet experiences both love and hatred. वो जितनी suddenly rise हुआ, उतनी suddenly उसका fall भी हुआ. Okay, so glory is something which is not permanent. Once you are glorious, it doesn't mean that you are going to remain forever. All right, we have seen it in case of different kings and emperors also. Next is faith in God. This is another very important point which has to be noted down while doing this poem. The poet's message in the poem is of faith in God and optimism. Optimism means positive thinking. Ashavadi hona. The poem ends with the line, "It is God shall repay, I am safer so." Even though the world thinks that the poet has done something wrong, he knows he had done everything he could. He hopes that he will be rewarded by God for his efforts. So, in a way, this is another theme which is very much relevant in this poem. That is the faith in God. See, कितना कुछ उस पेट्रियट के साथ होता है, but last maybe he has a hope that he will be rewarded by the God. Okay, so he is positive. And why is he so positive? Because he believes in himself and he believes that he is not wrong and he has not done anything wrong, right? Okay, now please understand, this poem is a dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue where the speaker, who is not the poet, utters this speech in a specific situation that makes up the whole poem. Then contrasting imagery, as I was telling you that what is the contrasting imagery? Through this contrasting imagery, the poet has depicted the fickle attitude of people. So that is, I have given three examples here. The first stanza gives us the image of roses on the patriot's path, which later changes into the flinging of stones at him. To represent the glorious past, the poet puts forward the image of house roofs that seem to heave and sway. But in a year, things changed as there is nobody on the housetops now. When the speaker is at the height of his glory, he asks for sun from the sky. When he has lost all of it, he walks in the rain towards his demise. Okay, so look at the contrasting imagery. Imagery, please understand, I am going to put a very short video on imagery also because that is very important. See, we have different imageries. Imagery always stimulate our senses. We have five senses, right? So we have sense of seeing, hearing, taste, smell, and feel, touch, right? So similarly, accordingly, we have kinds of imagery also. uh, Imagery which stimulates our sense of sight, that is called visual imagery, जिसको हम देखकर imagine कर सकते हैं. Which stimulates our sense of smell, that is olfactory imagery. Which stimulates sense of touch, that is tactile imagery. Which stimulates sense of hearing, सुनने की sense को हमारी जो stimulate करता है, that is called auditory imagery. And which stimulates the sense of taste, that is gustatory imagery. So there are different imageries. These five are the main ones. You should know them. And so contrasting imagery has been used by the poet to depict the fickle mindedness of people. Yes. Abu Salim is very much concerned about preposition ka video. Beta kal tak aa jayega, don't worry, you will get it. Okay, right. Now look at the next poem that we have in our syllabus, that is Abu Ben Adam by Lee Hunt. Abu Ben Adam. It's a very short poem. The themes of the poem, if we talk about, there is only one theme, that is the true devotion to God. Love thy neighbor. That is what the poem says. The poem depicts that true devotion to God is found in love for one's neighbor. अगर हम वाकई में ईश्वर में मानते हैं तो हम वो तभी कह सकते हैं अगर हम अपने नेबर्स को, यानी कि अपने फेलो ह्यूमन बींग्स को भी उतना ही yes, somehow it got disconnected. Okay, yeah. So, uh, yes, we can always say that we are devoted to God when we love our neighbors. Neighbors here means fellow human beings. Ma'am, which are the most important chapters? Beta, I am about to come on that only. Uh, All right. It is only when you love your fellow men you become worthy to be loved by God. The poem is a celebration of humanistic ideals. Now, as far as the form of the poem is concerned, it is a parable in verse. A parable is a short story used to illustrate moral or spiritual lessons as told by Jesus in the Gospels. And you know, the moral of the poem is also like the Christ commandment only, that is, love thy neighbor as thyself. मैम मेरा सारा पेपर एवरेज जा रहा है, आईएससी बोर्ड का 15-20 नंबर कट जा रहे हैं, तो कितने परसेंट की एक्सपेक्टेशन रखूं? बेटा 50-20 मार्क्स आउट ऑफ 80 आपका कम जा रहा है. नॉट बैड, नॉट बैड. So it means you will be able to score 55 to 60 in your theory exam, and then you have 20 marks of internal assessment also. उसमें भी children usually score between 80 to 20, 18 to 20. So it's not bad. Don't worry. All right. And your calculations are entirely different from what is going to be there in the council. You please don't worry about that. You please focus on your other exams. Forget about what has happened in English. Okay, जो आपके upcoming papers हैं बेटा, उन पे ध्यान दो. You will be able to make up. Don't worry. Right? Okay, so this Abu Ben Adam, these three are the important points that you need to understand about this poem. Now, the last but not the least is 9 gold medals by David Roth. So, we know it is about Para Olympics. So, you must know the themes. First is the celebration of human values. The poem celebrates human values pertaining to kindness, cooperation, and empathy. The poem brings out the idea that caring and sharing is more important than winning or losing. Right? Next is true sportsman spirit. This true sportsman spirit, like it implies that a sport, or activity should be enjoyed for its sake, with consideration for fairness, respect, and a sense of fellowship with other contenders. Sports is not only about winning medals, but also to learn the values of empathy and compassion. Right? So these two are the important themes of the poem. Okay. Now, uh, something is wrong with the camera. Just wait. All right. Ma'am, meaning of may his tribe increase. Beta, this means that tribe means people like him, race. You know, a particular race is called a tribe. So the poet prays that may his tribe increase, that may the people like him increase in number. Why so? Because he was such a good and kind person. And if people like him increase in number, the world will become a better place to live. Right? That's why. Jonathan says, ma'am, in this poem, what is Special Olympics? Special Olympics because it was meant for special people, beta. They were disabled people, so such people, it was Para Olympics actually. It was meant for people with special needs. How they all helped the youngest, or the Olympics was held specially for 9 differently abled people. I'm not able to understand your question. How they all helped the youngest? Of course, they helped the youngest. When the youngest one fell, they, instead of continuing their race, they came to help him. उन्होंने उसको उठाया, and then uh, they proceeded with that with his hand. Okay, hand in hand, they completed the race. What do you want to ask? I am not able to understand. Olympic was held specially for 9 different abled people. Yeah, those Olympics were actually for meant for different abled people only, differently abled people. So that in this poem, the poet is talking about a particular race, okay, which was being held at Paralympics, right? Okay, now let me talk about the questions. मैं आपसे ये see I have figured out certain questions which were there in the previous year's papers. Please understand, last year 2020-22 में Abu Ben Adam was there. So this is least important in a way. Council doesn't repeat, you know, uh, council doesn't repeat exactly in the current year. Like last year, Abu Ben Adam was there. Ma'am, what is the meaning of the line and the banner above said that? Yeah, let me have the home first. 34. Yes. And the banner above and 9 smiling faces said more than these words ever will. This is the no. And the banner above said that Special Olympics. So see, it became a Special Olympics, could have never been nearer the mark. It became Special Olympics because a special thing happened during these Olympics, and that special thing was which had never happened in the history earlier. आज से पहले ये कभी स्पेशल चीज नहीं हुई थी, और वो चीज थी कि all 9 of them were given gold medals, right? All 9 of them were given gold medals. That was the special thing that happened. Okay, so that's what the poet is saying, that the banner that said Special Olympics, actually it was written Special Olympics because it was meant for differently abled people, people with special need. But this time it proved to be another one. Why? Because it became special because all 9 of them were given gold medals. All right. Okay. Now the next is, let's talk about the questions. Beta 22 mein Abu Ben Adam was there. So this I feel is the least important. And it was there in 2020 as well. I know why the caged bird sings, and this poem, 9 gold medals, they were there in 2019. And Patriot was also there in 2019. Okay, so this way the poems which had never been asked upon are daffodils. So daffodils is very important from examination point of view. Okay, daffodils, and I know why the caged bird sings. I know why the caged bird sings, daffodils, and the patriot also. See, if it was in 2019, we can't say that it can't come again. So these are very, I strongly feel that you will definitely get one from daffodils and I know why the caged bird sings. ये दोनों तो most important है बेटा. You must focus more on that. Okay, you must focus more on that. See, if we look at the kind of questions which are asked in the council, look at this extract that has been given in 2020. I hope you are able to see. Yes, children, I hope. Are you able to see the screen or not? All right. Okay, now I am going to tell you how you are supposed to answer the questions. Okay, now look at this extract. It is from Abu Ben Adam and it was there in 2020. Abu Ben Adam, may his tribe increase, awoke one night from a deep dream of peace. Now, only this was the only these were the words which were given as the extract, and then you were supposed to answer the following question. The first question said, what did Abu Ben Adam see when he woke up from a deep sleep one night? What did he see? Now, please understand the question is for 3 marks. Okay, the question is for 3 marks. What did he see? You need to tell that. So you will have to write 3 points in it. Now please tell me what those 3 points can be. Yes, anybody who would like to answer? What can be the 3 points? Let me tell you. He saw the moonlight in his room. You know, the moonlight in his room making it rich. An angel writing in a book of gold. Okay, so these are the 3 things that should be mentioned in this answer. Actually, it was an angel, but you need to describe. Only angel is not going to give you 3 marks, beta. Okay, only angel is not going to give you 3 marks. So you will have to write that he saw that suddenly his room was bright due to moonlight and there was an angel writing something or writing in a book of gold. Okay, so these 3 points will give you 3 marks. The next is, what did Abu Ben Adam ask the angel? What was the angel's response? So, 2 parts are there in this question. First is, what did he ask the angel? So, he asked the angel, what writest thou? Means, what do you write? Tum kya likh rahe ho? And then, what was the angel's response? The angel said that he was writing the names of those who love the Lord, or he was writing the names of those who love God, right? So you will have to answer both the points. If you answer both the things correctly, you will be given 3 marks. If you answer one thing correctly, you will be given 1 mark. Next, what did Abu request the angel to do when he learnt that his name did not appear among the names of those who loved the Lord? So now here you see, he asked, before this actually Abu asked the angel, if my name is there, is mine one? If my name is there, for that the angel denies that, and when he learns that his name is not there, what does he request the angel? He requests the angel to write his name among those who love their fellow men or who love their neighbors. So he says that, write me as one that loves his fellow men. Okay, so he wants his name to be written among those who love his fellow men. Next is, what does this reveal to us of Abu Ben's character? Alright, when and how did the angel appear to Abu Ben Adam again? What did the angel show Abu this time? Now, see, 3 parts, 3 marks. First is, what does this reveal to us about his character? That he was a very kind and compassionate person. He believed in caring and sharing with others. Next is, when and how did angel appear to Abu Ben Adam? When and how? When? Next day. Okay. The angel came to him next night with great awakening light. How? With great awakening light. Right? What did the angel show Abu this time? This time the angel showed him the names of those whom love of God had blessed. Means who were loved by the God. Okay. Now look at the fifth question, which is always for 4 marks. What does the poet mean by may his tribe increase? I have just answered. अभी किसी ने पूछा था मुझसे कि may his tribe increase. The poet means that people like Abu should increase in number. Okay, because he was such a kind and virtuous person that if people like him increase in number, this world will become a better place to live. Then why do you think he says this? Why? Because if people like him increase in number, the world will become a better place to live. Then what is the central message of the poem? I told you that central messages mostly it can be taken from the themes only. That true devotion to God is when we love our fellow men. When we love our fellow men. And you know, you can also write the Christ commandment like love thy neighbor as thyself. Okay, that is the message of the poem. I hope it is clear to you how the answer should be written for the questions. All right, children. So this was all I wanted to discuss. If you want the videos on the explanation of the text on any of the poem, you can always post me. You can write it in the comment box. And yes, I'll come again for the revision of stories also. And as far as the Merchant of Venice is concerned, I've already posted all 3 acts, 3, 4, 5, the videos on them where the full explanation of the text is given. Right? Uh, I wish you all the best for the preparation. And yes, we'll be having live sessions for language preparation also. Your language exam is on 27th. So I personally feel that from 25th at least you must, 25th and 26th, you must do language only. You please complete your literature before 25th. Right? Okay, wish you all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye all of you.